Can you hear us?
Good. You can hear us. That's a really good start. So thank you all for coming. Good afternoon, just about, into the afternoon of day 2 here at HR Tech. So I'm here to talk to you about how we put reward at the heart of organisational performance. So historically, reward has had a reputation of being functional, of being compliant, and not really being a strategic lever within our organisations, when the reality is that if we don't get reward and benefits right, it affects our ability to attract people, it affects our ability to engage people, and it affects our people's ability to perform and then ultimately to stay with the organisation, which of course is what we all want to happen. So we're here to give you a real lived perspective around how to transform and modernise your reward from the inside. So this isn't about us giving you theory or about us giving you just some ideas. This is really practical around what we've actually done at Personal Group over the last few years. So I'm going to be totally honest and say that I am one of the chief people officers and kind of reward people out there, of which there are many, who have over the years just added more and more into our benefits platform. Something new comes out, we go, that's great, people will love it, and we stick it in. And the reality is that we've not really genuinely, I speak for myself, but I think it will resonate with others, not always stepped back and said, what real value is this plethora of options providing into our people? So my name's Jenny Hinde, I'm Chief People Officer at Personal Group, and I am joined by my colleague Arianne, who's our Chief Client Officer, who's going to bring those connections around how people's, how the employee experience connects with some of our clients as well. So together we're going to cover why traditional reward practices are no longer fit for purpose, how expectations evolve over time and how they continue to evolve, how to modernise in a way that's really sustainable and meaningful, that really aligns to your organisational culture as well as considering cost, because we all know that that's important. And ultimately how we at Personal Group went from having reward and benefits engagement scores that were in the low 50s right up into the 90s. So that's what we're going to share with you now. Whoop.
Is it going to, oh, you got to point it this way.
I've got to point it at this?
There we go.
Ah! Learn to point the clicker in the right direction. That's a good start, isn't it? Okay. Oh, I've gone 2 now, haven't I? There we go. Ooh! We're all over the place. Right. I'm going to stop pressing buttons. Okay. So why did we take a step back? So, as I said, our engagement scores around reward and benefits were in the low 50s. To be fair, that benchmark's about average. We weren't out of kilter with other organisations. And I'm sure many of you will have heard the mantra of, oh, well, you never get great scores in that part of your engagement survey because you can never pay people enough. It would have been really easy to hide behind that, but that wasn't something that we wanted to do. We wanted to really take a bold step into looking at how we could genuinely engage people. On the surface, it looked all right. There was investment. There was, a real appetite to do the right thing for our people. We had plenty. It wasn't, we weren't starting with nothing. But the reality was that we hadn't looked at it through an employee lens. We'd looked at it through a design lens. And when we started to look at the employee lens, things started to change. So, firstly, what did we look at? Well, surprise, surprise. People had different experiences across the business, so not everybody was having the same experience when it came to rewards and benefits. So we genuinely had people who were super well engaged, really well looked after, understood what was there and were engaging with it, and that was brilliant. But we also had people at the opposite end of the spectrum who just didn't even know what was available to them, and that just wasn't acceptable to us. We wanted everybody to have a consistent experience. Secondly, was we had really limited visibility of the impact. So yes, we had our engagement scores, but we didn't really understand, was it what we're offering, what was valued, what wasn't, what was driving the right behaviours, and what was just there because it was something we were supposed to provide and had always been there. And then thirdly, it was really hard to connect the effort that we'd put in with the outcomes that we were seeing from our reward and benefits. So the link to people's contribution and to their performance, it wasn't clear. And so we were really at risk of losing people's motivation, of people, kind of that trust eroding between I'm an employee putting all this effort in, and so what am I getting back from you as our employer? So all of these things were really signals that we needed to stop layering more on top, but we needed to really rethink about how did we get, really joined up reward and benefits in place that were really accessible for people and that were aligned to what we wanted to achieve as an organisation. So it wasn't about incremental change, it was about fundamentally transforming what we had in place. Got it right this time. Learning. Okay. So one of the big realizations, which is so obvious when you think about it, is that we have one workforce, but they have very different needs. Historically, it kind of been segmenting and almost accepting that some parts of our workforce were going to engage with our reward and benefits more than others. And ultimately, that was something that we weren't comfortable with. And if you're only serving one part of your workforce, then your reward and benefits aren't really working for you at all. They need to meet the needs of everybody. So at Personal Group, we have desk-based employees, people who come in, turn on a computer, they're seeing emails straight away, they've got access to comms, they're often saturated with communication. We also have deskless workers who are predominantly rocking up to client sites. They're not opening a computer first thing in the morning, they're not receiving those communications in the same way. And it's a much more kind of fluid, different working pattern. So in amongst all of that, you've also got a whole host of people who interact with tech in a different way. So those messages were landing very differently. We also looked at and talked to people about, what's actually useful to you. So we've had a great flexible working policy, we still have a great hybrid working policy, but the reality in talking to people was that some people, actually, they don't have a suitable working from home environment. So what's kind of celebrated as an amazing offer, for some people isn't actually helpful. Salary sacrifice electric cars, brilliant for many people, but if you live in a household or a flat that doesn't have a driveway, or you're in a shared household, charging a car's impossible. We have to think practically about the reality. Emergency childcare options, often, how many people would actually put their kids, young kids, particularly with somebody that they don't know? If you've got neurodivergent or disabled children, even more so, So just thinking about the practicalities, and on the flip side, our deskless population was saying to us, please, please keep online GP, because we're away from home Monday to Friday. If I need to see my GP, I can't do it. I'm not there to be able to do it. And so we had to really think about and listen to our people about what was actually working. So people really engage differently. One size does not fit all. People have different confidence and skills in terms of how they're interacting. And of course, expectations are different at different points in people's career cycles. Goes without saying that, in early careers, it's all about getting the experience, it's about setting yourself up for future progression. You might go through a stage where, you've had a family, or you've got different priorities outside of work, when, you've got different things to think about. For many, many people, all of those things come together. So, it's not an either or either. So the challenge was really, how do we put in place fair and consistent benefits that engage everybody, but that also are personalised and relevant to individuals? And that really was one of the core principles that we took away. It won't surprise you that expectations have shifted, as we've seen across all aspects of how people engage with their employers, and they continue to do so, so we have to continue to respond. But people expect support that they can actually use. So having stuff in place that looked good that they weren't engaging with, not okay. In reward heads, really deep technical experts, we kind of, chop stuff up into really nice, neat categories. But in reality, our people don't do that. So it needs to be holistic for people. And the reality is, if it's hard to find, then it may as well not exist. Yeah? That's kind of where we got to. So in all honesty, was it easy for our people? No, it really wasn't. Things were hidden behind processes. People needed to know where to look. It needed to be the right moment for people to engage. So it wasn't what people were expecting from us. You've got people who are really proactive, who really want to be able to gather, get their arms around things, but you've also got people who need the prompts, who need the reassurance. And so you have to design for all of those people. We wanted to reduce the friction. We wanted it to be more visible, we wanted it to be more accessible and more intuitive. And when we talked to others, it wasn't just about us. So, do you have a clear view of what your employees use and value? Show of hands, do you have a clear view of what your people use and value from a reward and benefits perspective? I'm getting a few like this. Yeah, we might have some, it's a bit partial, yeah? Is it harder than it should be? Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's in there. So we need to make sure that it's not just what we think, it's not just about what we've historically offered, it's not just about what looks good on your candidates' websites, on your careers' websites, but it's stuff that people will meaningfully engage with. Arianne.
So Jenny's spoken a lot about the issues and the challenges that we had at Personal Group. The teams that I lead at Personal Group, they're client-facing. We talk with HR teams day in, day out, and we get a really, really good view of what that looks like across a wider marketplace. And there's a lot of replication and repetition in what we see in the market. Jenny's spoken to a lot of this. A lack of visibility, unnecessary complexity. A lot of our clients, they've grown over time, or they've been through change or transformation, and the reward proposition has evolved as that change and that growth has happened. And to use your expression, layer gets leveled upon layer until you end up with a proposition where an employee cannot see the big picture, can't see where it matters to them personally, and from a leader's perspective, they can't understand where the value is coming from, what's happening with the investment that they're putting in. We see low engagement. I mean, that's probably the biggest piece that we hear when we talk to our teams. And that's often despite significant investment from businesses. You've spent the money, the benefits are all in place, but you're just not seeing the impact from it. That gap between investment and impact is a massive concern at board level. So that has a real impact on HR budgets and securing the value that you need to be able to get this stuff out to your employees. So it's a really big one to tackle. The average engagement rate on a benefits platform is between 10 and 30% of the employees. That's really, really small. I mean, that's leaving 70 to 90% of your teams not consistently engaging with their proposition and not getting value from it. We as a business specialise in working with businesses that have a large proportion of deskless workers. So again, this is up here, it won't be relevant to everybody, but it is relevant to our business and it is relevant to our clients. And there's a real challenge with engaging with this group of people. Traditional channels like email and internet, they just don't land, whether that's because they're not in a position where they have access to those things on a day-to-day basis. But a lot of these businesses have frontline workers, they're shift-based. They don't have access to that kind of technology, or they're not comfortable with it, or as comfortable as we assume they are. So we're unintentionally leaving them out of being able to access and engage. The irony here is this proportion of people are often the ones that need those benefits the most, and they're the ones that are finding it most difficult to get access. The final one, and again Jenny's touched on this, is an increased expectation of personalisation. Like, we experience tailored communications in our day-to-day lives. Netflix is always the example that I use. Depending on what you engage and what you want on Netflix, you'll see different images for the film as it's promoted to you to make it appeal to you personally. And that expectation is moving into the workplace. I think for the first time ever, we've got 5 generations of people in the workplace now. So there's a huge difference, and again, Jenny touched on it with what we see at personal group, huge difference in expectations of what they need. They want support that relates to who they are, where they are, what really, really matters to them, and that is challenging over 5 generations, because there's a huge difference in wanting to increase your pension contributions at one end to, you know, having access to cheap technology and Salsac bikes and cars at the other. So that is a challenge. It's a trend, I think. Well, it's not a trend, actually. It's a very real shift, but it is a really big challenge. And then the overriding piece that we're hearing is, again, how do we deal with those in a sustainable way, in an inclusive way, and a way that genuinely has impact? And that is challenging. Jenny?
I need to come
You need to be nearer the computer. Shall I do the clicker?
Hold on. Oh, that one, lovely. Okay, jolly good. Okay, so we at Personal Group had recognised the issues. We've talked about those. So what we really needed to do was to move from this very fragmented approach into an offering that was really clear and was really accessible for people. So the first thing we looked at was how can we really simplify what we have. So it was about putting everything in one place. So using the Happy platform to have all the things that you'd think about when you come to think about rewards and benefits. So yes, it's got things like, you know, the shopping discounts in there, but it's also got space for us to keep all our policies. People can connect with their pensions, they can look at their PMI cover if they have it, they can communicate through it. We can send out communications to people as well, so not relying on those kind of email, kind of more traditional communication routes. We also made sure that the recognition piece was really, really substantial there as well, so that we were able to do both kind of manager to team recognition, but also peer-to-peer recognition, all in one place. So it meant that there was a real driver for people to go there, and that it was easy for people to see. From our deskless worker perspective, what was so important in this space was that we had face-to-face sessions with them. So we actually sat down with people and said, right, this is it. This is what you've got. Let's load it onto your phone. Let's set it up for you. Let's look at the things, you know, do you want to interact with, you know, the online yoga classes? Do you want the recipes? Is it the employee assistance program you're interested in? Is it, you know, do you shop at Tesco or Sainsbury's or, you know, wherever it is? Let's put those things in your favourites so that they're starred. So when you open the app, it's there. It's super easy for the things that you interact with on a regular basis. So it stopped what we called tribal law, i.e. if you knew, you knew, and if you didn't, you didn't, you know. So it stopped all of that, and it took away the differential between those who were super tech savvy and those who found it a bit more difficult. We also really invested in bringing it to life for people, and this bit I can't, you know, I can't put enough emphasis on. So yes, we had things like, you know, the hybrid working, which was for people to make a choice about, but we launched things, for example, our human library. So our human library is people's personal stories, and it's about, you know, moments in their lives. So there are stories in there that are around baby loss, around struggling with menopause, around being neurodivergent, about raising a disabled child, that really brought to life for people how the support that the organisation puts in place is available to them. And it allows people to go to those individuals and say, I'm having something similar going on, and can I talk to you, and what did you interact with, what really helped you? So it was really bringing that human lens into it. We made sure that we had the policies that matter to people, so, you know, lots of organisations have done it, but things like domestic violence policy, so that, you know, if you need help in those moments of crisis, that you know what to do, and that we're there for you. And then we made sure that our leaders and managers were really role modelling what was available. So, I mean, literally, you know, there are photos of some of our leadership team, you know, knee-deep in mud on their volunteering day, or, you know, using their app at Argos, you know, whatever it might be, but just to bring it to life and to really make it very connected to real people. And then finally, it was about listening to people. So it's that continual feedback loop. It's not just, you know, that once a year engagement scores. So the Happy platform has within it the ability for us to send surveys, and we can segment those. So if you want to know why people are using a certain element or why they're not, you can ask the people who are using it, or you can ask the people who aren't using it. So you start to get some really insightful information. And obviously the usage metrics are so helpful. You know, I can literally share so much data. So last year, roughly, people in our organisation received 10 individual recognitions. So you can see that, and you can see people who had none, and you can see people who had 30. So you can really delve into that data. So this combination of keeping it simple, bringing it to life, and that continuous listening was really the backbone of what we did. And of course it hasn't stopped. So, you know, this year we've introduced inclusive travel insurance. So if you provide travel insurance for your people, I tell you, have a look at all the clauses, because you'll probably find, as we did, that 60% couldn't actually use it. And we've also added a neurodivergence cover under our PMI as well, which again was something that people really wanted. So what did we start to see? So within a few months of us really going hard on this, we saw 93% activation with our benefits platform, which was absolutely amazing. I'm super proud to say that that's now at 99.5%. So I'm quite comfortable with that, because at any point in time we've got new starters, yeah. So that's my 0.5% at any point in time. But we also have other people in their households who are engaging as well, which is really exciting. And they're not just going on once. They're going in and looking around, and they're using it multiple times a week, and that's, you know, that's what tells us that it's right. We've got the insights, so we're not making decisions based on assumptions. We're really making those informed decisions, and what we're really seeing is a lot more consistency across our different employee groups. So we're not seeing that differential in terms of how people are accessing. It's aligned to what we, what's important to us as a business. So our values are really embedded in the recognition piece. It's really holistic, so it's easy for people. And then, you know, people feel seen. You know, they're valued as humans within it. So as I said, our recognition is really well used. Last year in our engagement survey, we asked people why they stay with the business, and a combination of different things, but 58% said that they stay because of something connected with reward and benefits. That's a really, really powerful stat for us to have. Our engagement scores that were down in the low 50s were at 92% in our November survey last year. It's something I just feel immensely proud of. And things like, you know, the stats of, you know, across the board, more than 25% of our people are engaging with online GP and our employee assistance program. So it's working for people's well-being as well. So are you confident that your current approach works for your whole workforce?
And I mean, by that, like, you know, your entire workforce. So those people that are at desks all day, those people that are on the road, those people that might be shift-based. What's the level of confidence you've got? I'm seeing some shaking of heads. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, and it's difficult to track. Do you want to click through?
Yep. So I think the lesson is, you know, the intent isn't enough. It has to be about that mindset shift. It has to be about that transformational change.
I'm going to talk a little bit about tech as part of the solution and how we use technology. And Jenny's mentioned Happy, which is obviously a benefits platform. I'm using that as a very deliberate choice of words, because the technology wasn't the solution, but it was definitely part of the solution. We are obviously very lucky as a business. We do own a benefits platform called Happy. So we had easy access to something that we knew was designed in a way that we needed it to work. By using that platform to its full capability, we managed to massively increase that visibility that Jenny talked about. From an employee's perspective, you can see clearly what's available to you. It's all in one place. It's really, really easy to access. Visibility matters. You cannot value or get value from what you can't see. And that is the fundamental starting place where we use the tech to solve that problem. Secondly, it made it easier to access the whole workforce. We've talked a lot about this deskless and desk-based workforce. It's a challenge we have at Personal Group. As I said, it's a challenge with the clients. But whether you are desk-based or not, whether you access it from a mobile or whether you access it from a web, Happy is designed to be simple, intuitive, and easy to use. We wanted to remove that complexity. The platform allowed us to do that because Happy's been built with simplicity at its core. So it was very, very easy for us to take away those layers, make everything flat, make everything really, really easy to engage with. We mentioned earlier the engagement rate, and so I just wanted to highlight on that 99% that we have, 99.5% that we have at Personal Group, just to bring that back into line with what I said earlier, like an average business will see between 10 and 30% engagement rate on the platform. So all of the comms that Jenny and the team put behind there is what makes that technology work for us. The third benefit, and again you've touched on it, insight and intelligence, but actionable insight and intelligence. Like really good tech with really good MI behind it that allows you to dive into the data to really understand on a component by component basis what's being used, how is it being used, when is it being used, who is it being used by? That's such valuable data, and taking that out and then being able to use that to make informed decisions based on behaviour and not on assumptions was really, really important. To summarise it, it gave us clarity, it gave us accessibility, and it gave us insight. Can you flick to the next slide? So I talked earlier about the common challenges that we see, that we've faced. So we thought we'd just kind of summarise how we advise our clients and how we ourselves have approached those. So we invest in reward, but uptake is low. The issue is rarely quality. It is access and it is visibility. And that's really, really important. If you can't see what's available, you can't understand it, your engagement will be impacted. Our approach, simplify, reduce friction, make it easier to find, make it easier to understand, make it easier to use. Deskless workers, hard to reach. We know traditional comms channels are not a good route to engaging with this audience. We will always prioritise and advise a mobile first approach to that so that they can access wherever they are, whenever they want to, and again that goes across your whole workforce. But as Jenny said, we also supplement that with one-to-one, face-to-face engagement. Now, we don't only roll that out with our own teams, we have a team of 60 or 70 engagement executives, we call them, who go out to our clients and sit down one-to-one, doing all of those things that Jenny talked about, getting them to upload the app, telling them what their favourites are, showing them what they're entitled to, how do you use it, and that's such valuable support. On average, when our teams go into a site and talk to frontline workers, we see a 2.5 times increase in engagement with the benefit platform to those sites that we don't. And we also see double the savings on the discount platform. So they will save twice as much money using the discounts as when we haven't gone and spoken to them. So that face-to-face engagement, that one-to-one engagement is really, really valuable and important. Third challenge, visibility of impact. Leaders want to know what's working. They want to know what the money they're putting into the business is doing, where it's having the most impact. And the only way to do that is by having measurable engagement. It's utterly critical, because otherwise you just haven't got the tools to go back to the FD, to the CFO, and say why that budget is wisely spent, or even that you should have it at all. Using the MI tools available to you, and again we do this, diving into the data, making real-time changes to your proposition can really help you measure that engagement on the site. Ultimately, the challenges aren't about doing more, they aren't about adding more, they are about creating visibility, clarity, they're about doing things more inclusively and more intentionally.
Lovely. So if you're looking to review your approach, just to summarise for you.
In 51 seconds.
I've got, 48 now, gosh. So always look at what's actually working, don't make assumptions about it, and don't just look at the what, but also look at the why. remember that it's different across your workforce. People are going to be having those different experiences, and therefore break down the data, be honest about the level of accessibility, and don't be afraid of going for non-tech solutions. We're all kind of hooked into tech. We are at the HR Tech event, but anyway, we need to sometimes supplement that with real people. And then really think about keeping it simple. So take away the complexity, take away the jargon. If things aren't used, remove them. Don't be afraid of removing them. So as Arianne said, it's not always about having something new, it's about having clarity and ease of use. So we're going to leave you, hopefully, here we go, with one last question to ask yourself. So is your reward and benefits strategy fit for everyone in your business? If not, hopefully we've given you a few pointers to get started. We're on stand HH16, I think it is, so we're literally just over there, just dropping in here that there's some popcorn on our stand. So, do come and say hi, do come and have a chat to us. We have plenty of information that you can take away. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much.